No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. The Jets lose in overtime again by a 3-2 margin, to the New York Rangers. 2 straight overtime defeats on this return home for the one gamer before they head out on the road for the next 3. Well, you know, Dave and Ezzy are here right now, but I had so much fun on Saturday night by myself. Let's just get rid of them right back here to the Drew Mindell experience. Much better that way. No, I'm joking. We'll bring Dave and Ezzy back. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Monday night. Dave giving me the thumbs down. Ezzy just got that smirk on his face. Anyways, nice to see you both on this Monday evening.
Yeah, what's up, boys? Yeah, you were filling in admirably. I was down in Grand Forks. Yep. Dave M had a bar mitzvah, so thank you for stepping up, Drew. I caught a little bit of it. Unfortunately, the Jets didn't get the 2 points, but you did an awesome job sipping on. I wasn't sure what you were sipping on. I assume it was bourbon.
It was bourbon.
Because you're a good husband of a beautiful woman from Kentucky, so you got to sip on that bourbon, right? But yeah, this game was I don't know. It was kind of a weird game, right? Like there were a lot of emotions, and we'll get into obviously, you know, Blake Wheeler's return and the ovation that he got from the Canada Life Center crowd. But I mean, it looked like the Jets were well on their way to hanging on to a 2-1 lead there in the third period. But you give that Rangers power play a couple of opportunities, right? And they strike. And then obviously, you know, overtime, like saying to Dave here, Dave was at the arena for the first 2 periods. Then we watched the third period here like we usually do. And the Jets had all of the momentum.
Cuddled in bed.
Yeah, and exactly. And it wasn't just the power play that the Jets had. Like the Rangers, you could tell that this was the final game of a road trip.
Oh, there he goes. That was a wonderful. That wasn't me doing that this time, folks. That wasn't me.
Oh,
I think
that was almost a real special Ginsburg appearance there.
I think he's got some computer difficulties. But Dave M, nice to see you on this Monday night. You know, and I you know, sort of picking up on where Ezzy left off there before he's vanished.
He's still around, but we're gonna wait for we're gonna wait for him to get a screen of as much as we want to see the black with a little bit of a white dot in the middle of the screen.
Exactly, but you know,
although Spency did appreciate that Wiener zoom in shot for 1 second.
Yeah, you know, I sort of understand where I think as he was going, it was sort of did feel like a bit of a chess match out there tonight. Not a lot of room for either team. Both teams played I thought a pretty decent tight checking game, sort of very dissimilar to Saturday night, where Saturday night was very much an open and freewheeling game. You know, team chaos is sort of how I describe the Montreal Canadiens, and the Jets unfortunately are not able to handle a team that plays like that. Tonight, much more structured. I thought this was an entertaining hockey game. I enjoyed tonight's game. It wasn't flashy, but I thought it was. I thought both teams played very similarly to how they want to play by and large.
Yeah, I mean, I think special teams ultimately will be the difference in this one. Obviously, I mean, the Jets weren't able to take advantage of their power plays, and the Rangers, I think, came in with the 13th best penalty kill. So it wasn't as if they were the number one. Just put that one up there, Drew.
Oh,
but
sorry,
they that's okay. It's a good comment by Patrick, so I don't mind leaving it up there.
Comment,
but we should read it to the crowd now for the people who listen to the podcast.
Patrick put up on the screen for those of you who are joining the podcast edition that Ezzy's computer is the Jets power play of the computer world,
and which is not
a compliment to both the Jets power play and to Ezzy's computer.
No, and we did see a move from we got a different version of Ginsburg today.
It's a very up close and personal version.
Yeah.
You can count his pores going on there. So the computer, what happened to the computer there, Mr. Ginsburg?
Big surprise. My computer malfunctioned again. It shut off, what was that, 3 minutes into the show, boys?
Yeah, something like that. And can you get it back on or no, or is it just gone for good now?
I rebooted it. So for now, I'm going to kick it old school on
I like
iPhone.
it. I like it.
Yeah,
okay, well, anyway, so just to jump off the point that Ezzy was making, but I've usurped a little bit, was that the Jets did make a change to their power play today at the morning skate. They switched Nikolai Ehlers and Cole Perfetti
Yeah.
And I actually thought the power play number 2, I don't remember which period it was. They actually had some good movement. The first power play unit didn't look like they were doing much of anything, and I actually thought there was some good movement. The problem is
In the
nobody
second
in
period,
front.
it was
Yeah, it was in the second period.
It was the second of Eric Gustafson's 2
Yes,
penalties. He took
yes.
he took the Rangers' first 2 penalties. You know, exactly. There's nobody in front, and Igor
Nobody in front.
Shesterkin is, you know, and again, you know, you can point to special teams as being a bit of a cause of defeat over the last 2 games. Now, both of those defeats have come in extra time, so they're not regulation losses. They're getting the 1 point there. But, you know, power play, look, the Jets had a power play in overtime tonight. They had a power play in overtime against the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night, and both of those power plays went for naught. They just weren't effective. Igor Shesterkin is going to make every save that he can see. He is, you know, along with Connor Hellebuck, one of the better goaltenders in the NHL. You know, Jake Allen on Saturday night, when he's playing as well as he was in that game and had been so far this year, is going to make the saves that he can see. Most goalies in the NHL are going to make those saves. The Jets need to do better at getting the eyes away from the goaltender. And I mean, you don't have to be a hockey expert to make that analysis, but when everything's coming from the side and the player whose net front is to the side of the goaltender, not taking away their eyes, then, you know, you have to expect to not be successful on the power play.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you mentioned the Montreal game. Like, the Montreal power play obviously isn't as dominant as the Rangers power play, which I believe was second in the league.
Yeah.
At the very least, it was top 3 in the league heading into this game, right? And we mentioned it, right? Like, you might as well keep them to a couple power plays if you're able to. And like a game like this, and if you look around the NHL, guys, like, there were a lot of tight games, and that is usually the difference in a tight game, right? Especially, you know, if you're able to get a couple power plays like the Rangers did late in the third period, right? And look at, I mean, Nikolai Ehlers had a fantastic opportunity in overtime to get the extra point. Then we're probably, you know, not talking about that. I'm not sure what that says. I can't see it. Ezzy IMAC Fund.
Yeah, Travis is providing money for you to get your new computer. Isn't that nice?
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Travis.
Well, maybe give that money to a not-for-profit. I did get a new computer recently, but the issue is that I haven't had time to set my new computer up. Dave M took my. Anyways, we don't have to get too into this, but I do have a new computer, but I haven't had time to set it up. So by next Thursday's game against the Golden Knights, I will have the new computer set up. So for now, I'm on my iPhone 10.
I've already assured everyone that you will be dropping that computer off here, and I will be setting it up for you. So by Thursday, you will be back in business, and Ezzy will have, hold on, just focus, brand new computer that I know is going to be sufficient. He's going to have a banging microphone, and he's got a really good headset. So Ezra will be in the 21st century. Honestly, like the rest of us.
He's never looked more like a bobblehead as he does right at this moment. I mean, everything about it right now is I want to come over there and flick you to see if your head will go back and forth, because you're just like you have no body right now. You're just this sort of nodding thing going back and forth.
There we go. That's
I don't
a little
need to
bit better.
see the body. I much prefer just the bobblehead.
I'm keeping the phone nice and close so everyone can actually hear me. Hopefully my audio is not too bad, because it's obviously coming from the microphone on the iPhone. So what I'm hoping is my computer is going to charge up a little bit more. What the issue is the battery on my MacBook, because it's like 6 years old. It basically just does weird things. Like when I started up my computer, it was at like 70%, and then it went down to 0. But
why don't you just keep it plugged in?
He's a big dumb animal, folks. But he's our big dumb animal.
Dave has electrical outlets in his house.
I did have it plugged in.
Anyways, it's plugged in.
It's an old computer that needs to be fixed. Let's just move on. Let's get to that Jets Rangers game.
Okay. I mean, okay, fair enough. You're right. Delving any deeper into this, going any further down this road, is just going to be a recipe for disaster. The point was that, you know, it very much was a tight checking game. I thought a game where both teams were very much cautious of making any glaring errors. I enjoyed the game, though. I thought this was a well-played game from both teams' perspectives. You know, if you're a Jets fan, the positives is that you haven't lost in 5 straight games. You're 3-0-2 in your last 5. You know, if you're a Rangers fan, well, you just swept a 5-game road trip. So that's certainly very good for the New York Rangers. So I think both teams are taking some positives out of this game. The Rangers are probably taking more positives, certainly with the win. There's areas of concern for the Winnipeg Jets, but playing against an upper echelon New York Rangers team, the Winnipeg Jets, I thought, acquitted themselves fairly well and probably have to be disappointed, Dave, that they weren't able to get 2 points here because, for a lot of this game tonight, they were the better of the two teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think faceoffs were definitely a problem for the Jets, especially in that second period. But overall, I mean, they played a good game. And again, you're playing a Rangers team, removing the emotional element of Blake Wheeler. I mean, look, Blake Wheeler looked like he was going to get his a lot more minutes, and he did, I think, than what he's traditionally gotten for the last
13 and a half, 13:32 is what he's been. What he
and
played
I think that's
tonight.
almost double what he's been playing for the New York Rangers. So
He was under 8 minutes last game. I know that.
yeah, exactly. So the point is, I think it's a situation where you've got a guy who, they know they're like Peter Laviolette's a smart coach. He's a savvy coach. He's been in this league a long time. He's trying to take advantage. Obviously, had Blake Wheeler out there for the opening, for the ceremony, for the face-off. So it's an instance where he's playing a hunch and he's trying to get a guy going. And we know that Blake Wheeler had his goal disallowed. I think, was it against the Oilers? But he had a goal disallowed. He was feeling a little bit better about his game overall.
Mm-hmm.
And look, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're the Rangers and you're second, or they were second in the Metro behind the Devils, I don't know if they're first now because of today's win.
That's right.
But the fact of the matter is that, your individual success is less important given the way that the team is playing overall.
Yeah, they're not relying on they are now first in the Metropolitan.
Yes.
As these Devils are now third. We don't need to. That's not.
Yeah, but who's leading the league in points though, Drew?
Jack Hughes.
That's right.
Okay, fair enough. You have a lot to do with that, so you should take credit for that. Look, Blake Wheeler is not a key contributor. He's not a driver on this New York Rangers team, which is of course a different role than we're used to seeing him play for all these years. And and he's a slow starter. So I mean, when he was playing 8 minutes a game, most years he's been a slow starter.
Mm-hmm.
But look, good for Blake Wheeler to come out and have a good first period. He had 4 shots in that first period. The ovation that he received was heartfelt. His response was heartfelt. I thought it was this was just sort of a nice way to close the book on Blake Wheeler's time here in Winnipeg. He handled the media responsibilities today with dignity and with aplomb. I thought he handled the interview with Christine Simpson, which I'm sure is available on illegalcurve.com.
It is.
If you haven't already seen it, and if you didn't see it during the broadcast of tonight's game, Blake Wheeler sat down with Christine Simpson to talk about the end of his time here in Winnipeg and some of the the emotions associated with everything that happened over the last year and a half. Look, it's evident. And we'll get into the game momentarily. It's evident that Blake Wheeler and Rick Bowness were a little bit of oil and vinegar. They didn't mesh well, but both of them handled it with class. Sometimes you just don't get along with people, but none of them. They all can look in the mirror and say we've handled it with class. And I thought tonight was a very classy finish to the Blake Wheeler time in Winnipeg until he's inducted into the Jets Hall of Fame, because that's the next step for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, let's be clear here. Like, it didn't end how Blake Wheeler or the Jets wanted it to end when he signed his last contract, right? But it was time. Like, it was clear that, this was no longer Blake Wheeler's team, or at the very least, like Drew said, just look how he's being used on the New York Rangers. Like, yeah, he has no points in 9 games, but I mean, the guy's going to get points. I mean, I don't know how many points he ends up with, if it's, 40 or 50. It's definitely not going to be like in the 80s, Dave, like it was, 5 or 6 years ago in Winnipeg. But at the end of the day, like, he was the last remaining Atlanta Thrasher. Like, he was a captain for 5 or 6 years, 7 years. And, this was a guy who really did, give it his all on the ice. Like, did he handle every interaction, with the media, the way you would want to see? No, absolutely not. He was a guy that, could get, let's be honest, he could get pretty pissy after the Jets lost a game or lost a series, right? Like, go back to 2019 with the, the famous, question and answer, question by Paul Friesen, and then, the answer that Wheeler gave, right? Like, he was by no means perfect. And there was a lot of controversy about how he ran that Jets dressing room. Let's be honest here, boys. But at the end of the day, he did a lot for this organization. He did a lot for the community, right? Like, I know, like, I work at Hockey Manitoba. The Wheelers were really involved with Ride Inside, a great fundraiser for cancer care. So, I mean, he did a lot both on the ice and off the ice for the city. So I agree with you, Drew. Like, I think he deserved that ovation, and the Jets fans, treated him classy, just the way they treat, everybody else who deserves to be treated that way.
Yeah, no question about it. Let's get into it.
Whoa, I'm the guy who was there, doesn't get to say anything? Is that the way?
Yeah,
Holy Dinah, sorry
Go
so sorry. Did you not see that IC Mike front and center?
No, I saw your bald spot.
Yes,
that's
I know.
what I was paying attention to more.
Trust
than
me, so did
else.
I.
That big spot on the top of your head.
Listen, Baldy. I wouldn't be
kettle black.
Yeah. Although, let me tell you, I told Billick, I'm like, Scott, you could have taken a better shot, little side shot. He's like, it's like right on top. I was like, ooh, that was not necessarily Dave M's best shot. And it's funny. One day I don't wear a freaking hat to practice, and look what happens to me. Should have known better. Billick.
Go ahead, give us your comments about what it was.
So, Dave, I appreciate.
I was wearing pants. Yes.
What was it like being in the arena?
No. It wasn't anything. It was more just just to reiterate that point. It's just you're right. It was the wrapping up the Blake Wheeler era in a much different fashion. Actually, I thought Mike McIntyre captured it best with the picture that he took, which of course did not reveal anything with my hair, but like took a picture and it looked like it was like Wheeler and Friesen, and they looked like they were smiling at each other, which they actually were. But I just thought it was funny that that's the picture that Mike happened to capture. And look, I think it's as he's right, it's a mixed bag with him in terms of like some of his interactions. He could be a little prickly sometimes, but ultimately for the community, he was here. His kids went to school here. He raised them here. He brought his wife and children back to Winnipeg for this game. So that was obviously important for him, for them to be here. We saw one of his kids was walking with him after practice or after morning skate, back to the room. And it was kind of funny because Jacob Trouba, someone said to Jacob Trouba, like, what are you, like, you're forgotten now. You're no longer important with all of us huddled around Blake Wheeler's locker. But look, I just think it wasn't a surprise to me that the Jets fans gave him the ovation that he got throughout the video, the tribute video that they played for him, which I thought was nicely done. Again, if you didn't get a chance to see that, it is available on a little site called illegalcurve.com or on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. But if you didn't get a chance to watch it, you can see it there and you can hear the ovation from the fans. So not a surprise that he was given that. And, ultimately, obviously, he would have liked to have had a little more impact on the game. But again, I'm sure Jets fans would have been preferred to say, okay, see you later and take 2 points, not just one.
Yeah, that's right. They only get the 1 point. They lose 3-2 in overtime. Let's get into it. We do it during each and every edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway, the official title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show. You know that where you want to place a bet, when you want to place a bet, rather, Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Betway. The Rangers opened the scoring late in the first period after it was pretty even first period. I thought, the Rangers maybe had some flow to the game to start, and then the Jets sort of picked it up in the latter half of the first period. But it was the New York Rangers who get on the board first. It is Artemi Panarin, and he's, you don't necessarily see him a lot. We haven't seen him a ton over the years here in Winnipeg, given, where his career path has been largely out east. But he's just such a fantastic hockey player. One of those guys where you do have to be in the building to really fully appreciate him. Panarin, his 5th of the season. I think he's got points in 9 straight games to start the year. So he hasn't gone a game yet this year without getting a point. That tells you a lot that you need to know. Assist to Jacob Trouba and Keandre Miller, pardon me. And it's a really nice slap pass from Trouba finding Panarin, and Scheifele is half a stride behind Panarin, and he redirects it past Connor Hellebuck. No chance for the Jets goalie. And a good reminder to Mark Scheifele that you can't be half a stride slow, because it ends up in the back of your net oftentimes, as he.
Yeah, no, I think, I can't add too much to what you said there, Drew. Really, it's a nice slap pass by Trouba. I mean, he's been doing this for years. We saw him do this with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
He can distribute the puck. He's a smart player. And you're absolutely right when you talk about, Panarin. And to me, like I was telling Dave, like, I think the Rangers are going to be, right at the top of the Metropolitan Division by the time the season's over. The question becomes, like, is this team built to be successful in the playoffs? And you mentioned K'Andre Miller again, and Adam Fox is usually the first defenseman that you think of when it comes to the Rangers, and rightly so. But K'Andre Miller, Braden Schneider, even though Lindgren was taking penalties, Lindgren's a pretty good third pairing defenseman. So, and this Rangers team is deep. Like, we talk a lot about how deep the Jets are, but the Rangers are extremely deep when you've got Wheeler in your bottom six. Like that just as an example. But yeah, I mean, Scheifele, like you said, was a little bit slow there. A half a stride or a stride behind Panarin, and it's a beautiful tip. And you're not going to blame Hellebuck, but that's just nice execution by the Rangers. And you're right. I think I forget if did Panarin have the breakaway in the first period or the second period? I mean, there weren't a lot of, like, the first period was I don't know if you'd call it low event, but it was a little bit disjointed at times. You even saw that in the second period. Didn't think Lafreniere
had a breakaway. Is that the one you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think it was in the second period. Panarin had a breakaway, and then, if I'm not mistaken, Hellebuck had his pad out, and then Panarin ended up missing the net just because of Hellebuck's positioning. But yeah, that's just good execution. Nice slap pass by Trouba, and just a beautiful tip by Panarin. With the Jets just a second behind there, and that's all it takes when you have a skilled team like the Rangers.
It was a very nice play, and the Rangers have the 1-0 lead with 1:36 to go in the first period. But full credit, Dave, to the Winnipeg Jets and David Gustafsson and Cole Perfetti. So two young players for the Winnipeg Jets combine even later in the first period with 28 seconds to go. It's Gustafsson, his second on the season already. So that getting that monkey off his back, however many games ago now that was. And this is just you're watching this play develop, and you're watching Cole Perfetti, and he does such a good job sort of shielding the puck from the Rangers defenders. And I'm sitting here watching it. I was at home. I'm thinking, oh, he's taking too long. But he managed to get it over to Gustafsson. And look, as great as the shot was from Gustafsson, what's most impressive to me on this play, Dave, is watching Gustafsson kick it from his skate to his stick and then roof it over top of Shesterkin underneath the crossbar. Really nice play in tight by both Perfetti and Gustafsson to tie it up at 1.
Yeah, and it's interesting because those two have chemistry. They've played together on the Moose before. They've assisted each other in terms of scoring, so there's a little familiarity that goes back.
Wasn't Gustafsson's first goal of the year assisted by Perfetti behind the net?
Yes.
Was that Perfetti that fed him the puck with that nice pass?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure you're right. It was. Yeah, no, they have chemistry together.
Against Detroit, Dave, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, as you could have said about anyone, I would be like, yeah, that sounds all right. But look, I think it's a testament to these two having a little bit of familiarity, a little chemistry. And we've seen it, like I said, going back to already 3 years or 2 years ago with the Moose, where we've saw, like I highlighted it on, it was a game against the Texas Rangers, Texas Stars.
Yeah.
And so it was, it's just an obvious thing that we're seeing with Cole Perfetti now. Again, more comfortable protecting the puck. He's distributing the puck on a much better level. And unfortunately for him, guys aren't finishing. Now, in this instance, David Gustafsson finished, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Cole Perfetti has been setting up plenty of guys. He had a beautiful pass to Ehlers, where Ehlers just couldn't get a chance to finish that one. But look, I think Cole Perfetti is gaining more and more confidence, even along the wall, protecting that puck. And that's something the Jets need him to do and need him to be able to do. So that's a really good sign for them and for him. And I thought that it was a great pass. And you're right, Drew. David Gustafsson makes a real nice play. And look, he's got confidence, right? I mean, he's got the confidence in his penalty killing is still very good for Winnipeg, and he felt good. I mean, again, you saw it with what he was able to do with the 3 goals in the preseason or whatever he had, and knowing that he could score at this level, even though obviously preseason isn't necessarily NHL versus NHL. It just showed him that he could score, and I probably gave him a pretty big, boost of confidence. And he obviously knows, Ezzy, that I love, EDM, and his goal song is Avicii. So because of that, I'm fully on board with the Gus Bus, pulling out and scoring plenty of goals.
You know what? If
and one more thing on the Gus Bus goal. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to say, Drew, you're right. I mean, that is not easy to kick the puck to your stick like he did, and then have a really nice shot. But the other thing too that deserves a mention is Perfetti fights off Wheeler. Like, Wheeler was right there from behind on the back check, right? Like, so I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, like, I agree. I know you guys talked about it on the Saturday show, Perfetti's usage and everything like that. Like, I think this was arguably Perfetti's best game of the year.
Yeah, he was certainly noticeable. And he's been improving game over game. So, I mean, it's a process. It never, it doesn't immediately click. He played 15 and a half minutes, or sorry, just under 15 and a half, 15-12 to be exact. He had 2 assists in tonight's game. He's getting more ice time, as the games progress here as of late. And again, that Ehlers, Nemesnikov, Perfetti line, which had been very good for the Jets, wasn't great for the Jets on Saturday night against the Montreal Canadiens. Tonight, the Jets' best possession line at around 71% possession. So, if they can do that, and you can get, a number of high danger chances, 3 high danger chances, 4-1 against for that line tonight. If they can keep at that level, then they're only going to get more and more ice time as the games go on. And, one other point on David Gustafsson himself, if all of a sudden the Jets can rely on David Gustafsson to be a double-digit goal scorer, which he's clearly on pace to do now that he has 2 in the first, not even his, the Jets 9 games. He didn't play the first few games. Right. So 2 in, into the 6 games that he's played. Well, we talked about it, that the bottom 6 scoring that the Jets are going to get, even the 4th line scoring that the Jets are going to get this year, if it's more regular and not, a shocking turn of events like it's been for so many years, most recently, that's going to be a boon to this team and to their good fortunes. And David Gustafsson is clearly a key contributor in that regard.
Yeah, and just one more thing here before we get into the next goal. Like, when Gabe Vilardi eventually comes back, whether that's late November, early December, whatever that is. I mean, obviously David Gustafsson wants to give, the coaching staff something to think about in terms of, which forward comes out, because, like, before Mason Appleton had this offensive outbreak, like, I had no problem with Appleton on the 3rd line. He's been playing really well, but Morgan Barron was the guy that, I had kind of circled as far as, like, the guy that you would move up to the 3rd line. But the reality is, the way Gustafsson is playing, and, like, he's in that conversation for a guy that could get moved up to the 3rd line on the wing. Obviously, that's not going to happen with how good the Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton line has been playing, boys. But I think, you got to take notice. Like, to Dave's point, we already knew Gustafsson was a reliable defensive forward / penalty killer. But, these types of performances and popping in a G here and there, like, that's going to give the coaches something to think about, whether or not it's going to be him or someone else that comes out of the lineup once Gabe Vilardi's healthy.
Yeah, and, right now, Drew, I'll just finish off as he's thought there, because you also have to factor in how good he is on the PK.
Sure. Yeah. Right now, there's not an obvious candidate to come out of the lineup when Gabe Vilardi's back. Now, Gabe Vilardi's probably not back for another month or so, so it's not a pressing issue anytime soon. And who knows how the rest of the injury bug will crumble over the next few weeks. And obviously, you don't hope for injuries, but you never know what's going to happen. So 1-1 after 20 minutes between the Jets and the New York Rangers. The Jets make it 2-1, 5 minutes, a little more than 5 minutes into the second period. This goal by Nikolai Ehlers counts as our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
As much as I'd like to give it to the guy who proposed marriage to his partner And she said, yes, that was the Seagrams call your shot of the game. But
Yeah.
this one is going to be your shot of the game. Big thanks to our friends at Seagrams. Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey is Seagrams 83. Drink responsibly whenever you are imbibing. And of course, congratulations as well to that happy couple whose engagement was for all to see tonight at the arena. And I assume, Dave, they got a rousing ovation as a result of that circumstance.
They did, but it was as pointed out by the eagle eyes of Judy Owen of
Yes.
the CP, who sits beside us in the press box. Judy noticed that the guy was, before he even kissed his bride to be, he was already up looking up at the jumbotron and giving everybody a big cheer. So she went to kiss him, and after saying yes, and he was already accepting high fives and looking up to the crowd. So it was pretty funny, but yes, everyone gave him a nice cheer.
There you go. So Nikolai Ehlers gets the Jets the lead 2-1. It's a 2-on-1 again, Perfetti and Ehlers.
Mhm.
And for the life of me, I don't know how Nikolai Ehlers got the pass through to Cole Perfetti, on the 2-on-1. I thought he ran out of room. I should mention Mark Scheifele also with the secondary assist starts the play deep in the Jets zone. So got to give credit to Scheifele on this one. But Ehlers to Perfetti on a 2-on-1. Perfetti shoots it wide. Ehlers gathers up the puck, comes around the net on the wraparound, and sort of doesn't try and jam it through the post, but takes an extra little beat and then beats Igor Shesterkin 5-hole on the wraparound to give the Jets the 2-1 lead. As he.
Yeah, good point there. And I believe wraparound goals aren't supposed to be scored anymore, according to former Ranger goalie Steve Valaket, aka Valley's View. But what I love here is just that little delay, like you said, puts it the 5-hole. And Shesterkin's in position there, but I think he thought he was going, post side.
Probably.
So just impressive, like Ehlers' speed and skill there. We've said it so many times over the years. And like you said before, like the Nemesnikov, Perfetti, Ehlers line on a night when, let's be honest, Scheifele, Connor, and Iafallo weren't fantastic. They weren't awful.
Right.
But they just weren't driving the bus offensively. And the Ehlers, Perfetti, Nemesnikov was driving the bus, as you mentioned, Drew. Best even strength Corsi 4, I believe, right through the 4 Jets forward lines.
Yeah,
and Lowry, Appleton, and Niederreiter were also good. You can't expect that line to drive your offense every night. Like it might have been the case in Montreal against the Habs, but just beautiful, second effort, if you want to call it that, by Ehlers. And we've talked about it. What did he have? 0 goals through his first 6 or 7 games, and now he's up to 2, or does he have 3? I forget, but
2.
You knew the goals were going to come.
Yeah, of course the goals are going to come for Nikolai Ehlers, and they do in this instance to make it 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets.
And that was an even period. That was a very even period, right? Like, I mean, I think if you're the Jets, you're feeling good. I know you haven't got to the next goal, Drew, but overall, you're still sitting there as a Winnipeg Jets, follower, if you're following the team, and you're saying that was a pretty good period overall, leading up to that, because the Rangers, again, kind of started off quickly, and then the Jets were able to kind of start to match their pace. And I thought, again, this is a Rangers team that's feeling really good. I don't care if it's, like I said, you hear this, it's the end of the road trip. They're already thinking about going home. Well, okay, that's true, but they still would rather just go home perfect than go home with a 1 loss on that blemish.
It's funny, Dave,
record.
you never hear that narrative if the team ends up, pulling out a win in overtime, but you always hear that narrative, if the team loses 5-2 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a convenient narrative, I find.
100%. And so, like, or conversely, the Jets are only home for 1 game, so they're already thinking about getting to Vegas. Although they are leaving for Vegas, I believe, on either Tuesday after practice or Wednesday. So no, I think they're practicing in Vegas on Wednesday, so they might be gone a day earlier than we expected. Yeah. But regardless,
I would assume that they do some team bonding. If they're practicing tomorrow, I would assume they're flying out. They're flying out tomorrow to have some team bonding, maybe tomorrow night, so that they can recover in time for Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, it's one of those situations where you look. I think I saw Scott O'Neill say in his post-game media availability, which it will be up on our YouTube channel, and maybe it will be up on this show. Who knows? But regardless of that, then what we'll do is, although Drew could, test that out, during the commercial break, we'll see.
No, but it's not about testing it out. Remember, I can hear it perfectly.
Yeah, but Drew, so could I. Why are you arguing with me right now? This is not
You're
worth
taking
it.
a shot at me. Like as if
Well,
as if there's
I
something
think
I
Drew
can do to
needs
fix
to go
it.
to Horizon Hearing Centers and have his hearing checked.
Anyways, the point I was making is that, Scott Arniel said in his post-game media availability that they only gave up one chance 5-on-5. He felt the difference in the game, and I think most of the people in the chat would agree, was special teams. I mean, if the Jets' power play was better, then they probably win this game. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And you also gave a team that you can't afford to give that many chances. Their second best, their power play percentage was like 32%. They're the second best power play in the NHL. And you just, when you killed the first one, and Drew, I'm getting ahead of us now, but you just couldn't afford to be that sort of casual. And that was the problem for Winnipeg. Allowed the Rangers to get back into it. And again, I jumped ahead of your goal. I apologize.
Well, that's so the Rangers tie it up at the 13-12 mark of the third period on the power play with Brendan Dillon in the box for taking a boarding penalty that he vociferously disagreed with, and vociferously disagreed with as he was heading into the box. And then after the Rangers scored, as he was exiting the box, I think he was even more upset about the call. He did not like it, but nonetheless, the call was made.
There, to be honest with you, Drew. Like Brendan Dillon's an honest player, and he obviously, plays a physical game, but he's not the type of guy that can play. I just think that was kind of, borderline in my opinion, but we'll see maybe if the chat agrees or disagrees.
I didn't love the call. I mean, especially at that point in the game, I didn't think it was a clear cut penalty, but at the same time, the penalty that Ryan Lindgren took wasn't a penalty either. That wasn't a tripping
on
call.
Appleton.
Yeah, on Appleton, that gave the Jets the power play.
It wasn't It wasn't I agree that was also a pretty crappy call. But I was saying to Dave, by the time that the other team is going to set up for the power play, and he's still going at it with the referees, you're not gonna change their minds at that point. You know what I mean?
There's no question that they're not going to change their minds, but it never stops the players.
By the way,
from
boys,
complaining.
my phone's about to die, so I'm going to sign off and hopefully log in on my computer. So hopefully see everybody in a couple minutes.
Alrighty, there he goes. So hopefully he'll have some.
It's a hell of an operation.
Well, it's a hell of an operation for two of us. I mean, the third one is the one that keeps us on our toes at all times, is what I would say to that.
By the way, before we go to commercial break, and I'm sorry that Ezzy's not here for this. Big happy birthday shout out to Tico and Apolli, who's spending his birthday. If I'm recalling it correctly, there's a lot of people wishing Tico and Apolli. Phyllis was asking the question as if it was Tico and Apolli's birthday. So happy birthday to Tico and Apolli. Not a day over 40. Well done for you. Good, sir. Thank you for spending your birthday here on the Illegal Curve postgame show.
Undoubtedly, happy birthday, Tico and Apolli, from Dave and Ezzy and myself and everybody in the chat and everybody listening on the podcast edition of the show. I'm sure wishes you the same. So Chris Kreider ties the game for the Rangers at the 13-12 mark. It's a power play goal, and Kreider, as we talked about, is right in front of Connor Hellebuyck. And
what a crazy notion.
What a crazy notion. Don't be on the side of the goaltender. Take his eyes away from him. And it's a bit of a deflection. It's a deflection to the just off sort of the it looked like it was almost off the shaft of his stick more than anything else. But it's, that's where you're going to get deflections from. The Jets are shooting too much, in my estimation, from the sides. You're not going to score. You're not going to beat a goalie from the sides there. If you're shooting from up top, you have to go through the layers. I get that. And it's not that easy to get it through the layers, but get it through the layers, and then you're able to get a deflection, or you're able to get a rebound, or you're able to at least take the goaltender's eyes away from them. And that's what the Rangers do. Assist to Adam Fox and Artemi Panarin. And it's 2-2 at that point in time, late in the third period. And as we know, the Jets had that opportunity to send the game to win the game in regulation, as Ryan Lindgren takes that phantom tripping penalty with 19 seconds to play. And then they get the power play into overtime. And I would just say lethargic is the word that comes to mind from my estimation regarding the Jets power play there, guys.
Yeah, but also lethargic overall for the Rangers. The Jets were obviously, they end up losing the game in overtime, but yeah, the power play, what I said to Dave, there were a few opportunities where I thought, you take the puck out of the zone and maybe get a little bit more speed, right, Drew? And I agree. I mean, I just thought it was they played that 4-on-3 power play as if it was a 5-on-4 power play. And what I mean by that is like they just didn't seem to use the extra ice. And obviously, like you have a lot of guys like they're like Connor's obviously a guy that you want to shoot. But you have no problem with with Scheifele or anybody else taking the shot. I just thought that they weren't really using the ice, and they could have maybe taken the puck out of the Rangers zone and regained with a little bit more speed on entry, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, usually when you have a 4-on-3 and it was, what was it, a minute and 40? They had the power play in overtime, or a minute 35, something like that.
So it was a minute 39 to be exact, but yes.
So it was a long
or
power
minute
play.
41 to be exact.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like it was like a 20-second or 30-second power play. Like they had a lot of time to set things up.
Yeah.
But I thought actually it was Ehlers who had the speed after the power play expired, but then he missed the net by a solid 3 or 4 feet. Right. So yeah, it wasn't, it definitely was not the best power play, in overtime or any period for that matter.
And then finally, when they got to 3-on-3 with only about maybe a couple minutes to go in overtime, because they played without a whistle, and once it's it's 4-on-4 after Lindgren comes out of the penalty box, so they keep it at 4-on-4 until the next whistle. But when it's 3-on-3, Mika Zibanejad gets his second of the season assist to Panarin, so a 3-point night for Panarin, and K'Andre Miller also getting another assist. And you don't like the angles and the positioning of both Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor on this winning goal. And I'll tell you what, from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, I'm not sure that there's a worse trio of defensive players to have out on the ice at one time than Scheifele, Connor, and Neil Pionk. And it ended up biting them as the Rangers are able to play tic-tac-toe, and Zibanejad wires it through / past Connor Hellebuck, Dave.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were on the ice too long, and that's the problem. I mean, you just can't be on. It's selfish. It's unnecessary. I understand that you want to be the hero. You want to be the man to win it for your team, but overtime requires fresh legs. And at the end of a hockey game, you're not going to have very fresh legs, but you're going to have guys who are taking short shifts. And a minute is just, we know it. At the end of the game, it's just too long to be on for that length of time. You got to get off quick and recycle. And it's all about that. And unfortunately for the Jets, they didn't. And it looked like it was the end of a long shift for that trio. And as a result, Zibanejad makes a beautiful shot. And credit to Connor Hellebuck, actually, because we haven't mentioned him a lot, but he made some, and he didn't face a ton of shots, but he faced some very good shots. He made some very nice saves, very acrobatic saves, getting across quickly to make the stops, glove hand. So I thought Connor Hellebuck had a pretty solid game overall. And made some really nice saves for the Winnipeg Jets. So wasn't able to make that one. And the Jets point streak continues with 5 in a row. So, I mean, look, if you're the Jets, you're happy right now. You're not happy that you've left a couple of points that you probably feel like you could have had, in the old standings bank, but you're happy that you've gotten points in 5 straight games.
One thing though, Drew, sorry, I just wanted to say on that goal, like from my eyes, like you're absolutely right, Dave. Like, Scheifele and Connor, they're out too long. Obviously, I believe Pionk wasn't out there nearly as long, and Hellebuck's going left to right. So, like right off the bat, that's tough. We know that. I mean, we know that much about goaltending. We're not going to pretend to be experts, but I thought because of how good of a shooter is, and the fact that Panarin, already had a goal in the game, even though it was a tip. Like to me, it looked like Hellebuck was really respecting the fact that Panarin could shoot there. But there's absolutely no doubt that the Jets were standing around a little bit. Connor and Scheifele are tired because they were out there for the power play. And yeah, Zibanejad, I mean, what did he have? 93 points or something like that? Like he's a legitimate superstar in this league, right? Yeah. So it's unfortunate that the Jets had the power play in overtime, couldn't capitalize on it. And yeah, this game could have gone absolutely either way. I agree with you, Dave. Like for the most part, this was a fairly back and forth game. I'd have to check the even strength possession, but I don't think either team.
The Jets had the advantage at even strength possession. They had about,
pretty marginally though.
No, in fact, not 62%. Corsi 4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, 5-on-5 after it was all said and done. I was looking at an old stat, 58-42 for the Jets. So
I think that would qualify as a pretty evenly matched game, right? So. Yeah. Yes, the Jets get a point. Dave makes a good point. I mean, they've got points in 5 in a row, so you're not going to get too down on yourself after that type of performance. You could have easily, we could be talking about the Jets having won 5 games in a row, right, boys? I think, you take the good, you take the bad, and then you got a rematch against the defending Stanley Cup champs on the road Thursday night. We know that's not going to be an easy one. That's an intimidating arena to play in. So yeah, I think overall, that game was not something that you're going to say was too great or too bad. They lost the extra point in bonus time.
You take the good, you take the bad. The facts of life are the Winnipeg Jets losing
Bad,
3-2
also
tonight.
including my computer.
Yeah, to the New York Rangers. When we come back, more on tonight's Jets-Rangers game, a little bit more on Thursday night versus the Vegas Golden Knights, and much more of everything else that you've come to expect here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
Are you dreaming of your very own backyard rink this winter, but dreading the work involved? Well, stress no longer, because the Rink Guys are here to make it happen. The Rink Guys are Winnipeg's first outdoor skating rink installation and rink maintenance service. The Rink Guys offer free site evaluations and different rink construction options. Plus, they use a custom-sized liner to prevent any damage to your lawn. Lighting packages are also available to help illuminate your rink during those long, dark winter nights. To get your rink started today, visit therinkguys.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. We're back Monday night. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg. We got a couple nights off for the shows, at least. And of course, illegalcurve.com will be rolling strong, but it's a late night on Thursday night. Is the game at 9 or 9:30 on Thursday night? I think it's at 9
I believe
o'clock.
it's 9 o'clock.
Okay, which means post game will be around 11:40, 11:45, somewhere around there. So I see after dark, and you know what happens when I see broadcasts after dark. Chaos ensues usually, but we'll be back here on Thursday night for that. So I assume all of you will be kind enough to join us as well to talk about the Jets and the Golden Knights on Thursday night as the Jets look to extend the point streak to 6 games in a row. They'll be in tough to do it against a Vegas Golden Knights team that is still undefeated in regulation time, 8-0-1 so far through their first 9 games. So you certainly know the Jets will like to play spoiler on that, unless the Golden Knights are going to go 82 straight games without a regulation loss. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to make a bold prediction.
Credit, by the way, Artemi Panarin, 3 points in the game, and he left one Rangers fan, presumably a Manitoba Rangers fan, very happy. Gave him a stick in the warm up, which I thought was a nice move by him.
Breadman.
The bread
I
man.
I went to Panera Bread in it's called Panera. It's Panera Bread, right?
It's
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
Panera Bread.
Went there in Grand Forks.
You really hit all the hot spots, eh?
Yeah. Well, I was telling you, Drew, I was texting with you this afternoon. I didn't realize that Chick-fil-A wasn't open on Sundays. So
Yeah, that's
I was all
mistake.
excited.
That's a rookie mistake right there on your part.
And I was all excited. But we did hit up Culver's. I had a butter burger. It was awesome. I really wanted to go to Olive Garden, but we didn't have time.
Did you get a veggie in there anywhere? Or did you just pick the veggies off the butter burger just to make sure it wasn't too healthy?
There was some lettuce and some pickles on there, but I made sure I took those off.
That's important. Good. I'm glad to hear that the arteries are almost fully clogged at this point in time. Who needs, you might as well just go for the quadruple bypass rather, while you're at it. Don't want to say
triple bypass isn't enough. I'm going for the quadruple. Actually, I'm going to go for the quintuple bypass, Drew. I don't even know if that exists, but if it doesn't, I'm going to make it happen.
It wouldn't be the first time you've been a marvel of medical science. I would say that's for sure. So we might as well continue on with that idea. So the Jets, like I said, head into Vegas on Thursday. Some comments from the Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel about tonight's game. He said the special teams were the big difference tonight. Their power play scored, ours didn't, and that's the difference in the game. It really was. I thought we played a heck of a hockey game 5-on-5 against one of the top teams right now. We gave up one scoring chance 5-on-5 in the second, one scoring chance 5-on-5 in the third against that team. And like I said, special teams were the difference. He's right, though, for the Jets that aren't known as a defensive juggernaut to be able to limit the 5-on-5 chances that the Rangers had, I think is one of those things that the team can, the coaching staff can say to the team, hey, you can play like this. It's within you. You have the ability to do it. You just did it against the New York Rangers. Now, why don't you do it all the time? Why don't you do it night in and night out, especially against those teams that are play a more chaotic brand of hockey? Got to play like that shutdown style against them as well, no matter how difficult it might be to stay contained and stay within yourself, Dave.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it that this is we've talked about this though with this Jets club a number of times, right? Not necessarily just this year, but in general, that they find a brand of hockey that works for them, and can they stick with it? And the answer, generally speaking, is they don't. They start to do something else, and again, sometimes something doesn't necessarily have to be sexy or exciting. If it works, it works. And if you're putting points up in the standings bank and you're doing something that you need to do early in the season, we've talked about it, is get to that point, put yourself in a position where you're going to be able to not necessarily afford to lose a couple of games here and there, but you're not as, it's not as desperate if that happens to you. But again, and as we've talked about with this coaching staff, it'll be incumbent on them when that sort of thing happens to ensure that it doesn't become 2, 3, 4 games in a row. But right now, this Jets club is managing to find ways to win games or get points out of games. Mm-hmm. And this was a tough test. I don't care what anybody says. Like, the Jets had we're through October now, and the Jets record is what, 4-3-2?
4-3-2. That would be,
yeah.
That would be
and
correct.
they started it off 1-3, and you looked at the strength of their schedule and the teams that they were playing, and they were in it with that Vegas game, and they were in it tonight with the Rangers, 2 very good hockey clubs. And again, like I said, to me, it's a function of there's some things that this team needs to refine and get better at. Their power play needs to be better. Their PK could probably be a little bit better. And I think from a 5-on-5 perspective, you like to see that this team is playing well. You like to see that they're getting contributions from guys like David Gustafson. You like to see the improvement in Cole Perfetti. Nikolai Ehlers, we didn't even mention it. It was his 400th point in the NHL, that goal. So he hits a big milestone for himself. So, I mean, I think there's definitely improvement. Mark Scheifele was doing some good things tonight. But yeah, I mean, and Connor Hellebuyck was good. So again, I think overall the team was good.
Yeah.
And again, like, you don't hang your head in shame at this one, because again, you're not losing to a team that wasn't playing well, right? They just swept through Western Canada. You could say it's not a big deal with the state of the Oilers and the state of the Flames. Vancouver's playing okay, and they beat Seattle as well, who were playing some good hockey. So the Rangers were feeling very good about their hockey club overall, and you knew that they were wanting to have a good effort tonight for Blake Wheeler.
And I think, boys, you can really separate, like, we always talk over the years, going back to TSN 1290 days, like we always talking about kind of looking at the season in kind of like 5 to 10 game chunks, right? And if you look at the first 9 games, I think there's a pretty big difference in the first 4 games where the Jets started off 1-3 versus, like we've talked about, the Jets have points in 5 straight, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, the big one is obviously the goaltending of Connor Hellebuyck. And I agree. I mean, the power play, they need to start burying some of these chances, with the obvious one being in overtime when they had the 4-on-3. But I think, what you've seen is more consistent efforts, right? Like, you're not seeing, one period followed by a bad period, or, half a good period. Like, it hasn't been perfect, but for the most part, like, even if it's the end of a road trip, the Jets stuck with the Rangers. Like, this was a game. I mean, it was mentioned by Mitch Clinton on the radio broadcast, right? Like, the Rangers play a 1-3-1. This is a very veteran team. They've this group has been together for a while there. And like Drew said, like, Shesterkin, you can say whatever you want. Shesterkin's still a top 3 goalie in the league, in my opinion, or a top 5 goalie, whatever you want to say, right? Like, Ilya Sorokin and Andrei Vasilevsky are in there, and obviously Connor Hellebuck's in there. And I would throw in UC Saros. So there you go. I think I just went over the top 5 goalies in the league, boys. But yeah, the Rangers are just like, they're a team that, don't get me wrong, I hate them because I'm a Devils fan, but they're a damn good hockey team. Right. And, the Rangers are going to be there in the playoffs, and they're most likely going to finish top 3 in the Metro. And they're not going to be an easy out in the playoffs. And Peter Laviolette, as Dave mentioned, like, we've seen him with so many different teams over the years. He's still one of the top coaches in the league. And even when guys like Panarin and Zibanejad don't play their A-plus game, they still end up, Zibanejad gets the winning goal and Panarin has 3 points. So that, to me, is a sign of a really good team. The Jets were like that in 2017-18, where they could take a period or 2 off, and then, Scheifele or Connor or Wheeler or Laine, whoever it was, depending on what night of the week it was, right? Like, they had enough offensive weapons that they could still win games when they had no business being in them. And obviously Hellebuck's goaltending too has a big part of that. So I think, like you said, Dave, I think the Jets are trending the right way. And I think you're going to see a much better effort than you did when they played the Golden Knights at home. Because I think it's safe to say the Golden Knights are the only team this year that's really dominated the Jets.
Well, the Kings, I would argue, were even more dominant.
Not that first period, Drew.
Yeah, fair enough. But the point is,
you're right. Yeah, you're right. The Kings were pretty impressive as well. I'll give you that, Drew.
Thank you. Alrighty, let's do it. We'll wrap it up with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment on tonight's illegal.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Big thanks to our friends at Tough Duck. It is chilly out there. Halloween tomorrow, so you'll need your Tough Duck toques. Ezzy, who's getting the toque for the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment tonight?
We're going to give it to Comet. I'm not sure if he's a big Full House fan. It's obviously not his real name. The dog on Full House was named Comet, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, Drew.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
Golden Retriever.
And, just as an aside, Drew once got Dave Coulier to play pickup hockey with us. That was about, 15 or 17 years ago.
Longer.
So shout out to Dave Coulier. I know Dave Manouk was also there, but that was awesome.
Find that picture right now if you want.
I believe Coulier was playing at Rumors, right, Drew? That's why.
The backstory to this, and I may have told this story on the show before or not. Dave's going to find the picture.
I don't know if I can find it that quick. I don't know if I can.
I'm surprised you can't find it that quickly. You're usually.
I don't think I drew that photo is literally from like 20 years ago.
It is definitely from a long time ago. So how it was I picked him up at the airport, And he was only in town. He was playing at Rumors. He was playing at Rumors Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I picked him up on Thursday afternoon at the airport. And, most comedians, they come in with a very small bag. And he came in with a massive duffel bag. And I said, Dave, what's in the bag? And it was Richie's birthday. If you really want to
it was
layer it up.
around
So
this time of year. Yeah.
It was, we had ice time for Richie's birthday. And so I said to Dave, what's in the bag? And Dave Coulier says, I brought my gear with me because usually, anytime I go up to Canada or go anywhere where I can get a game, I'll find a pickup game. So I said to him, great, we have a game tonight. So he did his show, and then we booted out of there after his show, and we showed up at the, I guess it was still the Highlander back then. It wasn't Canlan at that point in time. It was the Highlander, and we played hockey.
Didn't we play at River Heights?
Nope. It was at the Highlander.
It was the Highlander. It was definitely the Highlander.
Yeah, and so we had, so it was Dave Coulier was streaking up the right wing.
Now hold on. Remember what did he insist on having?
A Red Wings jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Dave,
our buddy,
you give him somebody who had a
Neil.
Red Wings jersey?
Neil had a Red Wings
Rocky,
jersey.
yeah,
yeah,
and he's a good hockey player. Coulier can skate. I remember.
He's a pretty good because he plays with he played with a bunch of guys in California. He plays with Bure. Yeah, he played in California with Bure and a bunch of guys in the summer. He may have name dropped.
He's also his stand up is hilarious.
Dave Coulier, Dave Coulier name dropped NHL players the way we're name dropping Dave Coulier right now.
I know, but who can forget? Like Uncle Joey? I mean, he was the best. Anyways, let's give Comet
it out.
Yeah, cut it out, Dave. Cut it out, Drew. Let's give Comet the tough duck hardest hitting comment. By the way, Comet is a great participant in the IC chat for all of our post game shows that he's able to obviously join us. So thanks, Comet, for always joining us and participating in the chat. Glad the Jets are good enough to beat the Vegases and the Rangers on any given night. To be honest, I wasn't sure if we could. Obviously, we just talked about Vegas handed it to the Jets pretty good, 2.5 weeks ago. But I think the Jets are going to be much better in Vegas. It's definitely not going to be an easy place to come out with 2 points. But I agree that tonight they easily could have had the 2 points. So Comet, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs on X/Twitter @ICSEG. And Drew sent me a few more winners. So we're now getting caught up because sometimes we don't hear from our Tough Duck winners for a day or two after they win. So I think we're pretty much caught up now after 8 or 9 games. So Comet, make sure you send me an email or DM, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. And you're definitely going to need it because winter is. I thought the snow might melt, guys, earlier last week. It's definitely not melting.
No, I don't think it's melting. Our buddy Joe.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Go ahead.
If you think I'm waiting till Thursday to discuss that Saturday hockey game, Drew, you are out of your mind. Anyways, I'll be quick. Moose already had taken one in Texas, boys. And you know what they did?
They took another one?
They took a second one. They swept the series with the Texas Stars on Saturday night, forcing a comeback win against the boys in Texas. And it was an impressive game because they, again, like I said, they came from behind and they were looked like they were down and out. And yet that's what they did. They keep shooting, and they shot a lot. And guys like Brad Lambert got a goal. Kyle Capobianco was productive. Ashton Sautner, I want to give him a shout out. Of course, Flin Flon's own Ashton Sautner.
Well, hold on. If we're hold on, keep your thought, Dave.
Okay.
But if we're doing a Minuk Moose Minute, I can do a Ginsburg Bombers Minute because the Flin Flon Bombers.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, my dad is from Flin Flon. My grandparents owned a pharmacy in Flin Flon. Shout out to the great folks of Flin Flon.
Okay.
The Bombers are 13-1-1, the top team in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. And for those wondering why, by the way, the Bombers are in the SJHL and not the MJHL, Flin Flon's right on the Saskatchewan border.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to be part of the WHL. It's a long story, but that's why they're in the SJHL.
That was geography with Mr. Ginsburg.
Well, not bad. Not bad. But anyway, so I want to mention because I hope Frosty's still in the chat, because if Frosty's still in the chat, he's going to be very excited because Danny Zhilkin, the Jets prospect, scored the third rounder, of course, scored his first goal as a pro. And then he actually, even nicer, because that was and appropriately, boys, assisted by Nikita Chibrikov, who he played youth hockey with in Russia from ages 4 to 9. And then he set up Axel Jonsson Fjällby on a shorthanded goal, which was a beauty play in the Moose zone, got it up to Axel Janssen-Fjällby, finished it off. Jeff Malott, he scored a beauty. Ashton Sautner scored one. Brad Lambert tied it. So the Moose were actually down 5-3, tied it 5-all in the third period. And then Ashton Sautner with a nice finish in OT to send the Moose to back home to Manitoba with 2 wins. And more importantly, Brad Lambert, boys and girls, 9 points. 9 points for Brad Lambert and 8 points for Nikita Chibrikov. So Lambert, I think, is either 4-5 or 5-4. And Chibrikov's 1 goal, 7 assists. 1 goal, 7 assists right now. So the kids are all right. Danny Zhilkin also, throughout the course of the weekend, guys, if they could finish a little better, story of Cole Perfetti's life a little bit, Zhilkin probably would have a few more points. So there's a lot of excitement for the Moose right now and coming home. They're playing against the Rockford Ice Hogs this weekend. We've given away a lot of tickets already. In fact, I preemptively gave away some tickets for a game in December to an IC fan from Australia who's going to be in town and wants to go to the game. So we've got an Australian IC fan going to a Moose game in December. We've got a bunch of you folks going to the Moose game this weekend. I think I still have 2 tickets left for the Sunday game, 2:00 against the Rockford Ice Hogs. So you want to go? 2 tickets. Send me an email, Dave@illegalcurve.com.
Did you tell our Australian friend that about the toilets?
That the water goes
the other way. Yeah, I think he's aware, Ezzy. But that's good. That's good on you making sure that he's comfortable with that change before it happens. 35 years ago tonight, the Winnipeg Jets defeated the LA Kings, and John Ferguson was dismissed as the Jets general manager.
A lot of mileage out of this, Drew.
After that game ended, and also this happened 35 years ago tonight.
Yes.
The crying voice is my son realizing these are the genetics he has to overcome.
Look at that skating stride.
Oh yeah, it's
that's workman,
I believe it is what that's called.
I don't know if that's
quietly.
walking.
If you listen, you can hear my father laughing hysterically at my humiliation.
Is this the first shot or the second shot?
This is the second shot. I cut the video. There's the third shot that we don't get to. But if you want the extended version, it's about 4 hours long, and it really just keeps going from there.
Just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside.
By the way, just a quick little bit of that. By the way, Drew, that's a nice throwback for the old days, and a little Halloween hijinks today. At the media session, I have to give I don't know if the video is going to go public or not, but it was pretty funny what happened. We were all queued up waiting. This is a little behind the scenes I'm giving you folks, but we were all queued up ready to go into the Jets room to do media availability. And Fred, who's the cameraman for Freddie
Mizlachuk.
Yeah,
exactly. Who is the cameraman for TSN. So he goes to Jamie Thomas of the Jets. He goes, "Hey, Jamie, can you throw this in the garbage?" It was like, because we have to put tape on our feet to walk in so we don't bring in salt and sand, whatever. So Freddie says to Jamie, "Hey, Jamie, do you mind throwing this in the garbage?" And Jamie goes, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So he grabs it. And all of a sudden, you see Jamie walk up to the garbage, opens it up, and then boom, Colin Jensen wearing a mask jumps right out of the garbage. Scares the crap out of Jamie. Kind of scared the crap out of all of us because not many people knew. Paulie Edmonds knew. And Fred knew. So there were like all of these angles of people recording Jamie as he got punked today ahead of media availability for the Jets. So a little behind the scenes tale for folks who were interested.
That's fantastic. We'll end it there tonight. Big thanks to all the sponsors of the post-game show who make this a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they're the title sponsor of the post-game show, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and the Rink Guys. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. We'll see
everybody.
Shooter.
Great
We'll
hosting.
exactly. We'll see everybody back here Thursday night, a little bit before midnight for the Jets and the Golden Knights post-game show. In the meantime, illegalcurve.com is your destination for everything to do with the Winnipeg Jets, news, audio, Jets, Moose, everything. The Jets are officially not practicing tomorrow. They're flying off to Vegas, so they'll be in Vegas on Tuesday, so it'll be an off day
Looks
tomorrow.
like it's a Moose day for me, folks.
Dave M, there you go.
Woo!
Dave M has got that to look forward to. We'll look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday as well. For Dave, for Ezzy, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks everyone for joining us. This has been the Illegal Curve post game show.